to talk now to Umaru Fafona, who's a BBC journalist living in Freetown. He joins us live from there. Umaru, welcome. What's the latest, please?
Hi, Paul. Well, it's generally quiet, much quieter than the early hours of this morning, but there is still sporadic gunfire going on in the last few seconds. I just had a taste of that from the distance, not actually far away from where I live, somewhere around the near west end of Freetown. And in the last couple of hours, I understand that there was also heavy gunfire at a place called Joey in the outskirts of Freetown in the east. And Joey has a military police barracks, an armed police barracks as well. But I've not been able to confirm what the reason for that gunfire was. But I was told by eyewitnesses that it was indeed intense. And basically, it's been across the city. There have been these sporadic gunfires going all over the place, which started this morning at the at the main military barracks at Wilberforce.
And you actually met earlier some of those armed men in the west of the city near the military barracks that was attacked, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And there is a junction area called Congo Cross, and I was actually driving through the very empty streets of Freetown. Then I got to this place, which is in the middle of the Wilberforce barracks where this morning's shooting started, and another barracks called the Moritan barracks, just about 500 meters away. Then I met a police van with armed policemen on board who identified me by my name, and then they said that it wasn't safe for me to go any further. But then just a few seconds later, somebody beckoned to them from the roundabout at Congo Cross to say that they, the police, could actually go. So they made a U-turn, and I chose to drive behind them. They stopped and moved a couple of times, and they got to this place, and I saw the soldiers who commandeered the police van basically and sent the armed police guards off the vehicle. Then they took over the vehicle, turned around. When I turned around as well, then the soldiers came towards me. One of them wore a balaclava, and then he said to me that they were on a mission and that they knew what they were up to, so nobody should really be afraid. In his exact words, he actually said that we are on a mission and the civilians should go about the normal business. We are going to clean the system. Then he drove off. We drove off, went past him, and then later on we understand that the central prison had been broken into and hundreds of prisoners had in fact been allowed to leave.
Umaru, please don't go away because we'll come back to you in a moment. In the meantime, let's speak to the Minister of Information in Sierra Leone, whose name is Cherno Ba. Mr. Ba, welcome to the program. What can you tell us about what happened earlier today?
Thank you, Paul. And I think as Umaru was describing earlier this morning, we had some assailants attack indeed the military armory and try to overrun the armory. There were some breaches, and apparently they laid hands on some weapons. Now, what happened after that is the state security forces repelled them and drove them away from Wilberforce, which, as Umaru mentioned, is a major military outpost in the country. And since then, there has been sporadic attacks in places across the city, including the major detention facilities. What I can tell you is that immediately after we received these reports, His Excellency the President declared a national curfew, and the intent of this was very clear: to isolate the assailant and to quickly put them under control and apprehend the ones that we could.
You call them assailants. Our correspondent called them soldiers. It looked like a military coup. Was it, or an attempt at it?
As I said earlier, the threshold for declaring a military coup is very clear. The security forces will make the determination once they have all the information. Right now, what we know is that some of them were in military gear, but some people were not. And so we cannot ascertain that. As Sumar has just mentioned, it is a fluid and a developing situation. What I can tell you is that they have been pushed to the outskirts of the city, and that our military and state security forces are now in control of most of the areas of the major city. And these bandits, which frankly they are being engaged in the outskirts of the city as they are retreating.
There was a significant breakdown in order. You describe things as fully under control now, but thousands of prisoners being sprung from their cells is very significant, isn't it?
It is not insignificant. We don't want to make light of the situation. This is a very serious situation where we've declared a nationwide curfew, and we have made clear that the intent of the curfew is to apprehend the people who are responsible for sowing this level of insecurity in our country, and we expect that we will be able to apprehend most of them and will restore security and safety and tranquility for the people of our country. We don't. The intent of this is not to make light of what is very clearly a very serious situation.
Chairman Bar, many thanks. That's the Minister for Information in Sierra Leone. Back to Umaru Fofana in Freetown. The Minister is clearly playing down the risk to security now. You confirmed that things were quieter. Is it right that the prison break took place after that reassurance that things were calm?
Oh yes, I had received assurances that the attempt at controlling the armory at Wilberforce Barracks had been put under control, and then following that we had some artillery fire still going on, and that's when I drove up to that Congo Cross roundabout I told you about, and then it was after that that the breach happened at the central prison. So clearly right now it's fluid. We are not certain as to what is happening. There is still shooting going on. We don't know who is shooting at whom or why. What the loyalists and the attackers are actually exchanging gunfire, we don't know. But there is still shooting going on. Nobody is certain as to what is happening. In the last few moments, I spoke to the Internal Affairs Minister, Brigadier David Taluba, who said that indeed, like the Information Minister said, that the attackers were on the run. But then after that again, I've had gunshots going on the west side of Freetown. So we are not sure as to what exactly the real situation is. It's going to be a very long day and an even longer night.
And briefly, Umaru, there have been multiple military coups in Francophone West Africa. Did that not alert authorities there to the possibility of something similar happening where you are?
Well, it did, and I like the stress on the word Francophone West Africa, because when Mali and Burkina Faso happened, people said that there were Francophone countries where there was a paucity of democracy, they said, and then it came to a neighboring country called Guinea, and then they said, oh yeah, it's a Francophone country as well. But that did not take away the fact that there were concerns that these developments in these countries should be looked into. We are not sure what the breaches are. We're not sure whether they took them seriously. We're not sure what mechanisms they put in place. And again, we are not sure whether, in fact, this is a coup or not. But it's a very concerning development, and it more or less brings to mind the events in those other countries in West Africa.
Umaru Fofana in Freetown, the capital of Sierra Leone. Many thanks.